I hope you continue singing U2 songs until I'm ready.
Joshua Tree was our biggest
Woo!
album.
Oh, there we go. All right. All right. We good. I got it back. Welcome to the
Nice.
show after the show.
The bonus boner episode.
Bonus boner. That's what it
number
was.
2.
Yeah, you teased what it was called in our MXPX episode that we just did, and I forgot entirely what it was called. Bonus boner episodes. Yeah, this is the Patreon exclusive. I mean, if you're here and you're listening to this, you know it's a Patreon exclusive because you've paid and you're listening to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your support. We appreciate it. But we decided we would talk about some of our favorite live albums, which mine are. They're all at least from the punk world, because like our first bonus episode, we talked about albums that weren't punk that we still really loved, but we're going to stick to the punk rock world, at least for mine anyways. Yours could be all over the place. I don't know. Maybe your favorite live album is Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison.
It's not, but thank you.
I forgot that one. Now that I think about it, I was like, oh, I do. I've got some live Johnny Cash in my record collection, but I mean, obviously they're not my favorites. So, I think we've discussed this before. I don't think we mentioned it on the at the show Left Coast Live episode, but I'm not actually a big fan of live albums. I don't typically go for them.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, it's never my go-to. If I'm craving a band, I'm never going to go pick their live album just because.
Now, here's a question. If a band has a live album but also has a best of album, what are you going to listen to? You can only pick one of them.
Probably the live, because it will have the best of songs, but also other songs
also
that
not
aren't on there. Because I mean, sometimes the best of albums aren't really what I consider the best. It's just, right. I mean, it depends on the band. I mean, there's been, best of albums that Tooth and Nail has put out, and it's like this band only has 2 or 3 albums. They're just kind of piecing it together to make a best of album, but. Some bands don't have 20 hit songs.
It's like Goaty Hook, bands. We're looking at you.
Well, I think there was one on a Dogwood one and a Slick Shoes one, and it's not that they don't have great songs. It's just I wouldn't consider a band like Slick Shoes to have the hits.
Yeah, Tooth and Nail is pretty notorious, I feel, for repackaging things, whether it's live albums or I'm thinking of the MXPX Triple Shot, where they're like, oh, let's get all 3 of their first records on one album.
There's different punk packs and things. That's
But
I'll probably go for a live album over the best of.
That's fair. What if it's the exact same collection of songs?
Probably the best of, because it'll have better quality sound.
All right. I think in both instances, in that particular thing, I may just go with the live album, just because, I mean, especially if we're talking about punk albums, because you're going to get that energy that's you're not going to have on the studio versions, right? Like if you're not listening to an album from start to finish, I'd almost rather, for a collection of songs, I'd almost rather just listen to the live album in that sense. Yeah. But if I'm sitting there going, oh, I want to listen to an MXPX record, I'm not going to pick At the Show or Left Coast Live typically.
Right. Yeah. No, I switched my answer thinking of the MXPX albums we just talked about / I mean, I would pick those as live albums over just listening to the recorded ones. So
yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on what the band and what they're on.
Yeah, we've established that much, that we both you like the energy of the live albums, but typically you're going to go for just a full studio album.
Yeah, so I'll give an example here of an album that I had on my list. It was kind of like a backup that I ended up moving off of the 5. So that was Less Than Jake's.
Bonus features on the bonus episode.
Oh, yeah. Less Than Jake did a Hello Rockview live.
Okay.
So I played through Hello Rockview. And, I mean, it's awesome because I love that album and it's cool to hear it live, but it definitely doesn't sound nearly as good.
You know what's amazing? It's funny that you bring that up because I'm pretty sure Hello Rockview...
it just had its anniversary.
Was it just today?
Today or yesterday?
It's today. Yeah. October 6th, 1998. So what's that? 22 years.
Yeah. That album's still stinking good too. So so there are some instances when I put that on, like it's cool. I mean, especially because I haven't seen them live, and it's my favorite album of theirs live.
Yeah.
However, I'm definitely gonna pick the studio album for that.
I mean, yeah, I can agree. It's interesting because I might, in that instance, if they had and maybe they do, but if they had a like live footage that accompanied it so you could watch the show,
right.
I might be more inclined.
Might be different.
Yeah, I might be more inclined then, even though I find myself, I'm like, I'll get in a mood where I'm like, oh, I just want to watch, a live concert. So even watching Left Coast Live, kind of preparing for the episode that we just did, I have a hard time getting through the whole thing in one sitting, which is funny because obviously
not on video, or if it is
if it is on video, like I'm more interested in watching it, but at least if I'm listening to it, I can, be off doing other things and it's just playing sort of thing. Yeah. Right. Like, whereas like the couple of times where I sat down to try and watch it, I would just kind of skip through it and be like, okay, or, stop watching or whatever. But I do love watching it. In fact, one of the albums that's on my list here, maybe I'll start by just mentioning this album. It was supposed to come with a DVD, but I guess when you bought it on vinyl, it didn't, which is such a stupid thing, and it actually makes me a little bit angry. I'm sure I could find it online. I haven't looked, but it's the Weaker Thans and their live their album Live at the Burton Cummings Theater. And yeah, it's it on the liner notes inside of the record, it talks about the DVD production and all this stuff, and either mine's just missing it or they didn't release it with the vinyl. It's kind of annoying. But the thing I like about the Weaker Thans Live at the Burton Cummings Theater is that the recording on it is so good and so clear that it actually almost passes for like a live album. Like there are times where there's a little bit of, you don't really hear the crowd, but I mean, the Weaker Thans aren't a band where you're going to have a bunch of people necessarily in between being like, yeah, screaming stuff and whatever, right? Like they're a lot more laid back, and I'm sure the Burton Cummings Theater is, it's seats and whatever.
It's awesome. I saw the Gaslight Anthem there.
Yeah. So were there seats in there, or is it?
Yeah. So there's like a big balcony, and then there's seating on the floor, but then there's also some standing room at the front, and so I mean, as many as you can fit up there. But yeah, it's a theater, so it's
probably like
to be seating.
I saw Frank Turner and was it Bad Cop at the Windspear here in Edmonton, which I was interested. I was like, man, because I'd seen Frank Turner at Union Hall prior to that. And that was actually the show that Northcote opened. Right. And it was just like, it went off. It was crazy. It was all sorts of fun. We were like Union Hall. There are 2 levels. So the main level, and then you can be up top looking down sort of thing. And so we were up top that night, and I was just like watching the pit and how like the whole floor was just like going nuts.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That kind of surprised me. Cause like Frank Turner, he's got some straight up like punk songs, but a lot of his stuff is more mid-tempo or even slower acoustic stuff. Right. So I was like, what's this going to be like? And then, so when I saw that, and then the next time I was going to see him was at the Windspear, which I'm like, okay, this is like where the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra plays, and it's like seating, it's like theater style and all this stuff. I was like, this will be interesting. And he still like tore the roof off the place, and there's one part where
awesome.
Like everyone was standing, but it was definitely a lot less moshy, and there wasn't really, I don't think there was no crowd surfing, right? So, but he like, it's side tangent. I don't remember what song they were playing, but he ended up coming down off the stage, and he walked like into the crowd, and there's like, so you have the floor, and then along the sides and the back, there's like, I don't know what they call it, but it's a section that's up just like 2, maybe 3 stairs higher than the floor. And then you have like a couple balconies above that. Right. And so there's a rail that separates that first, like the floor seatings with the first level. And he just like walked along the entire rail. And like, we were sitting right there, and he stood right in front of me and my wife, and he was like, not looking at us, but he was standing right beside us, like singing and all. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, it was this show that was like, going to a punk show and there's seats. What's this going to be like? But
yeah.
So the Weaker Thans, I would have been a little more like, yeah, that makes sense. They're fairly tame overall, but that album is so good, and I kind of like love the sweet sense of irony when they perform the song "One Great City," where John sings the "Guess Who Sucked Anyway" as he's performing in the Burton Cummings Theater,
right?
Because Burton Cummings was in the Guess Who. I was like, that's pretty funny. But anyway, yeah. So that was the first album that I kind of jotted down, and yeah, I don't remember why I wanted to. Oh, because it was supposed to come with the DVD and it didn't. So boo earns on that. But what's one of the ones that's on your list? These are, by the way, I don't know about yours, but mine aren't in any particular order. I just kind of put them together.
Well, that's funny you mention a DVD because 3 out of my 5 I love so much because they also have a DVD with them.
Yeah.
And so it just adds so much. But I'll get to those later. My first one is one that maybe you didn't even know existed, and that is Good Riddance and Remain in Memory. So it was their, how all these bands have their final show and then they come back later, and it's not actually their final show. But this was their, at the time, final show. And I mean, it's awesome. They play all their sweet songs, and I mean, they're such a great live band with so much energy and rawness to it. And so if you're a fan of Good Riddance, go check it out. It's on streaming services. It's called Remain in Memory.
I just added it because you said, because you're talking about, that is the best sales pitch anyone has ever given me.
What's that?
You just telling me about the Good Riddance live album.
That
was the sales pitch. You made me go download it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's one that, like when we were talking about this, I was like, oh, I know there's live albums that I like. I mean, all the classic ones come to mind, but I know there's other ones. And so I was just kind of going through different bands and looking things up, and hey, there you go.
I do, looking at it, the artwork is definitely familiar. I've looked at it. I've never listened to it though.
Yeah. So go check that one out. The final, not so final show.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I know they've been around, and I'm trying to think. Oh, I haven't seen them in a while. When I first moved up to Edmonton, they came and played 2 shows that they just flew in for. And I feel like at the time it was like they weren't doing things. It was this big thing, and I didn't go. It's like,
oh, it's too bad.
Myself. All right, so let's move into another one on my list, I guess. We talked sort of about it on the episode that's Face to Face, Live in a Dive. I picked Live in a Dive over that live album from 97 or whatever because like their first live album is the one that kind of introduced me to a lot of their catalog that I didn't know at that time. This one is great though because it reminds me that these guys can still go. When it came out, I put it on, I was like, it's live, it's a live album. I'm not that huge on it, but what it actually did is it sold me on how good Protection is. Like that record, I was like, oh yeah, songs, like, man, this song's really good. And then like I think what I appreciated is like it was one of those first ones where like I own Protection on vinyl, and I think I owned it when this came out. I'm pretty sure I did. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd have to go back and look because I bought Protection when I went to Punk in Drublic like in 2019. So I don't remember when. Anyway, whatever. But hearing it going, there's some really good songs. Yeah. And what I love too is that for the most part, we talked about this, is that it's all different songs than from the first live album. I think there's, like I said, I think maybe Disconnected is on both of them. I could even be wrong on that. But yeah, it's really good. If you haven't listened to Face to Face, Live in a Dive, you should get on it. It's one of those records that kind of like helps me to realize that, alongside the MXPX ones, that, you know what? Live albums can be good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're not always just like, okay, I'd rather see them live sort of thing. So Live in a Dive came out October 18th, 2019. So I think I would have, I had Protection by then because Punk in Drublic was in the summer. So I was just looking to see. So Disconnected is the last song on Live in a Dive. Do they have, they don't have the live album on here. Well,
that's right.
Stupid streaming, but they have that one.
Got it on CD somewhere.
I used to. Didn't you? You just got it, didn't you? Again.
No, not that one.
I thought you did get it.
Oh, actually, yes.
With your sweet score.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, send it to me.
CD book. Yeah, I can.
let's see. I'm looking here. Oh, Disconnected is not on both of them. Do they have any? I'm actually going to compare the track list right now because that's a pretty impeccable feat if you think about it. To not have any crossover. Why are you not loading?
Yeah. I don't have the booklet from the first CD of theirs I have, so now I have the booklet, but now I just need to find that jewel case. I need a third copy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually pretty impressive that they don't. I mean, I'm too lazy to go through, and I don't want to go through this all on here, but because Disconnected came from what record was that on? Yeah, that was on
Big
Don't Turn
Choice,
Away.
I think?
No, it was
Or
on.
Don't Turn
Well,
Away?
it was on Big Choice as well,
Oh, yeah.
but it was originally on
Just-
Don't Turn Away. So it's like I think it's the only like really old song they play. I'm assuming. Oh, there it is. There's a Face to Face live on stream. Why did it not
Oh,
show
it
up?
is?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's dumb. It doesn't show up as a live album on Apple Music. It's just in
Okay.
their regular albums. Anyway, tangents. That's what bonus episodes are for. We don't have to care about what we're talking about. We can just go off.
Yeah.
So what's your next live album that you live?
The next one is Newfound Glory, Kill It Live.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about this record. I've listened to it, and
That's
I
awesome.
remember really liking it. But why does it make your list? I mean, I just said it was really good.
I mean, I have seen them live once, and I wish I could see them a lot more. And yeah, it's super energetic. It's good sound. They play all the songs you want them to play, and yeah, it's just one of those bands that, you know, some live bands, you know, maybe, or live albums maybe stand up more like for nostalgia or because you love the band. And this one is just it's an awesome album, whether you're super into Newfound Glory or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, just again another one of those that kind of slips the radar, but if you put it on, there's a lot of good stuff to get off of it.
Yeah, it's funny because again, I guess this just goes to show how much I don't really listen to live albums typically, because I've listened to that one and I forgot that it even existed. And I think I remember listening to it and being like, man, I feel like they're playing these songs at like hyper speed, some of them.
Yeah, and that's another nice part of live albums too. Plus, this one comes with some 2, if not 3, like new songs that aren't live; they're recorded. So that's also a nice added bonus.
Yeah, let's say it shows on here. There's 3. I Want to Believe, Connect the Dots, and First Bite.
Yeah,
yeah, that is a good one. I also like the cover art on that one, just like the close shot of Jordan, the black and white shot. All right, so let's go with a band that we actually mentioned in the MXPX episode, Five Iron Frenzy. Their album Proof the Youth Are Revolting, which I think was recorded at Cornerstone 98 or something like that.
Okay.
So, I mean, I look back on this one probably with more fondness than maybe it deserves, because it was one of the few live albums I had, and it was really like my introduction to a lot of Five Iron Frenzy, because I think at the time this came out before what the heck is the name of that album? Oh shoot.
Yeah, I don't know their discography enough to know which album would have come out then.
Yeah, I mean they're doing a great Kickstarter right now again.
Yeah, I signed up for it.
Oh, you did? Well done. Well, I did not. All the Hype Money Can Buy. Yeah, because so Upbeats and Beatdowns was 96. Our newest album ever was 97. And then they recorded this at Cornerstone 98. And then All the Hype Money Can Buy came out in 2000. And actually, no, they couldn't have recorded at Cornerstone 98. It must have been Cornerstone 99, because they have the song A New Hope on there, which is about or inspired by Columbine, because their practice space was not far from Columbine.
Right.
Yeah. Which A New Hope is on All the Hype That Money Can Buy, because Columbine was 99, right? I believe.
Oh, I can't remember all those years.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, anyways, it was, does it show on here? It was that they start off the show by saying what Cornerstone it is. But it's just like this fun album. Like, I mean, Five Iron Frenzy is fun, and it kind of just adds to that. In like, I finally did get to see them live a number of years ago in Seattle with MXPX. but before that I'd never had the opportunity. So this was the closest, and you just got to, they had a lot of like, where MXPX at the show had like zero stage banter. Like Mike doesn't say a single word to Yuri or Tom, as far as I remember on
right.
the show.
Yeah.
Like Proof the Youth Are Revolting by Five Iron Frenzy, it's just like nonstop a lot of times, right? Like just a lot of joking and whatever. So it's fun in that regard. But yeah, I do believe they did another live album towards
really?
Yeah, I think they had one at like towards the end of their like their initial run before they eventually, you know, got back together and started releasing music again. But now I'm curious. Although it doesn't say. But I feel like, or is it The End Is Here? Is that a live album? No. Oh, they do have some live. What? I'm so confused.
Just
Maybe
live songs on it or something.
Yeah, I think it came. Yeah, it definitely came with a live album, I think is what it was. It was like a double disc or something. But anyway, regardless, Proof the Youth Are Revolting is the one I like.
Yeah, nice.
What's next for you?
Yeah, so this one is maybe cheating in a bit, as it's not technically a live album, but it is a live session that is on streaming, and you can go watch it on YouTube. So that is it's a live session. So
that's fair. All right. On with it. What is it?
It's Comeback Kid, Rain City Sessions.
All right.
Which is awesome, because when I was thinking of this, I was like, okay, what are some of my all-time favorite bands? And I want to make sure that if they have a live album, that I'm at least aware of it, either to mention it or just to be aware of it. And so I was Comeback Kid. I was like, oh yeah, they had that cool Rain City session. And so I looked it up on streaming, and it's there. And so I guess it is a live thing. But yeah, I mean, they're one of those bands that, I mean, their studio albums are amazing, but they're a live band. I mean, they're one of the bands I've seen the most times live, and every time it's awesome. They sound super good. It just so much energy in this session. It's a pretty small room, and so for a band like Comeback Kid to be, you know, in this little room with maybe, I don't know, like 50 people or something, it's just a really cool experience. So go check it out on YouTube, or go listen to it. I think it's only maybe 6 or 7 songs, but,
right.
Yeah, it's an awesome little nugget.
Man, if I would have gone that route, I would have just been listing a bunch of Audio Tree sessions. Like Me Without You on Audio Tree was really good. Tiny Moving Parts on Audio Tree was really good. There's a ton of really good. If you're listening to this, patrons, go just check out things like Audio Tree if you haven't. They've got some great shows on there.
Yeah. If that's cheating too much, I can pick a different one.
No, that's fine. I actually added one that I forgot to the list, so I'll get to it at the end. But another one that I like, maybe this one's on your list, maybe it's not, I don't know, is Slick Shoes Broadcasting Live.
It is not on my list because I assumed it would be on yours. It is a great one. It is. Well, go ahead. Most, like, besides New Found Glory, the rest of mine have been out for a while. Like Comeback Kid was maybe the last few years, but these last two I'm going to mention have, like, I don't know, they've been out for 10 years or something, and so I just had more time with them. Slick
Shoes Broadcasting Live. It's like, I was nervous, I remember, like, because it was kind of like the first real return of Slick Shoes,
right?
And I was nervous because when they released, I think Feeble was the first song that came out, and it sounded weird. And it's still, like, I went back and I, like, watched, like, their little, like, video montage thing, and it's still, I'm like, it sounds so weird. But the album itself, once you get into it, I'm like, oh, it's actually pretty good. And at the time, it was like this thing where it's like, oh, okay, they legit still have it. Now, obviously, we know they really still have it because they just released a fantastic album that some people are saying is, you know, their best. Others are saying it's, you know, it's definitely up there, I would say. I'm not ready to call it their best, but it is up there. But yeah, this live album was just kind of like this nice little surprise almost, and just like something that was to get excited over for fans who hadn't heard from the band in forever, right? So
yeah, and it was a really good array of songs. I feel like they did a really good job of picking songs from each album. I
Yeah.
don't know if they had any from Far From Nowhere necessarily, but I mean, yeah, all the ones you want to hear, and I mean, you want to hear all the Slick Shoe songs regardless, so they're all songs you want to hear.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's fair. And the best part about it all is if you go to YouTube and you type in Slick Shoes broadcasting live, the second video that comes up is my review of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like I went and looked for it today, like just like broadcasting live, and I was like, oh, that's literally the second thing that comes up. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah, cool.
All right, what's next on your list?
So my last two are metal bands, two of my favorite long-standing metal bands. This one is As I Lay Dying, and it's called This Is Who We Are. And what was really cool about this one is it's actually 3 different sets. So they did one. So I mean, by this point they were a huge band. So for the first set, they went and did like a 200-300 cap room. And then the second one was like 1,000 people, and then the third set was at some massive festival with 80,000 people or something. So it's just really cool to kind of see where they'd come from, where they'd gone, and just playing those different venues. Going to do a show for the people that had been around for forever, playing to 200 people, and then all the way up. And so I mean, yeah, they're one of my favorite bands and metal bands, and so. I love this one, and yeah, it's a DVD as well, and it's on YouTube, and so that just makes it that much better.
Right, that's cool. Would have been my last, but second to last because I added one that I forgot. But this one's Touche Amore, 10 years, 1,000 shows. This is actually the album that introduced me to Touche Amore, and more specifically to their album Stage 4, which is. I know we've talked briefly about Touche Amore, like just in text message or whatever. I don't know if they've ever come up on the show, and I know you're not huge on them, but the album Stage 4 is like an absolutely incredible post-hardcore record. That part of it, I mean, it's written, a lot of it, if not all of it anyway, is about like the lead singer's mom dying of cancer, right? So there's a lot of kind of like there's a lot of talk about hospitals and cancer and stuff like that kind of like hits home for me, just with some of the stuff that we've seen. And I mean, obviously my son didn't die, so like, that's huge, but there's a lot of stuff that I kind of see and saw people walking through. So like in that regard, like Stage 4 really kind of like hits home for a lot of things. Also, it's just this really neat record, influences from kind of all over the place. But the live album 10 years 1,000 shows, so it came out, and they also released, I don't know if they ever released it all as just one video versus like what I was talking about before, where it's like just like separate songs. But the video, the live footage is so good, and the record just sounds so good. And I mean, it's not just that album that they're playing. I also like that they planned it all out to like do this live show for like, I believe it worked out. They say either it's like in the video, one of the videos you read, like there's this opening thing. I can't remember if it says it on the album or not, but like it literally landed, that 1,000th show landed on their 10-year anniversary of when they started, crazy. Or when they played their first show or something like that. And then they decided to celebrate by doing this live album. So it's pretty cool. And definitely worth, if you haven't listened to Touche Amore and looking for something that's kind of, like I don't even know how to explain it. Like vocally at times it does remind me a little bit maybe of, say, like Me Without You, like a little more spoken than spoken and yelled. Not like La Dispute is very much like Me Without You and like spoken word sort of stuff. This isn't quite there, but anyways, tangents. They have a new record coming out Friday that I'm excited about, which by the time this comes out, it'll already be out. So go listen to it. Hopefully it's good. Cool. I don't know. But so Touche Amore, 10 years, 1,000 shows. So good. What's your final one?
My last one is Killswitch Engage, Set This World Ablaze. Ooh. So this came out, I think, in 2004, maybe 2005. So I mean, it's been around for 15 years now, and just another. I mean, because it came with a DVD as well. This was probably one of the first kind of live DVDs that I got, and then also now you can stream it or whatever. And yeah, just another awesome live metal band, and just the shots of the crowd and the sing-alongs are amazing. And still a band I love now, and I love going back and watching clips of this DVD. I think I still have the actual copy of it too.
Right on. That actually reminded me. So the one live album that I forgot to add to my list that I was going to add to my list is the Mark, Tom, and Travis show.
Oh yeah.
And my note is literally just because like it was alongside At the Show. Like those were the Face to Face, At the Show, and the Mark, Tom, and Travis show were like the 3 live albums that I really loved. But so I wanted to not forget to mention it. But I when you're talking about metal bands and live albums, I actually got one that it's the only album I own, period, and it's the only album I've listened to, period, by this band. And it's Of Mice and Men.
Oh yeah.
Live at the O2 Academy or whatever, or the O2 Theater, whatever. It's a live album that I got for free from I think it was Rise Records. They had this deal where you like you bought one album and then they sent you an album, just a surprise one or whatever, right? So I think the album that I got that I wanted was Mayday Parade Sunnyland, and then they sent me this one. Was my I got 2 actually, but one of them I think I turned around and sold because I didn't like it. I don't even remember what it was, but I kept Of Mice and Men.
Something with it?
What's that?
The Transit?
No. I would have kept. It was some band I never heard of.
Or Tides of Man, or was it?
Maybe if you remember this, that's impressive.
But I just remember you sending that to me and being like, "Oh yeah, I've never really listened to them."
Yeah, I don't. Maybe I'd recognize it if I saw an album cover, but yeah, no, I ended up taking it and selling it and buying something else, which was sweet. I got it for free, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, those are our live albums. Unless you had another one you wanted to throw in there last second.
The only other one I had was No Use for Names Live in a Dive.
Oh yeah.
Just because I love all their albums, and so that was kind of the Fat Records Live in a Dive. And I mean, there was a bunch of Face to Face, Strung Out. There was a bunch of fat bands that did that.
Fat bands. I've been listening to Hard Rock Bottom a fair bit lately.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Anyway, that's completely random and not. Anyway, that'll do it though. That's our bonus boner episode about live albums. Hope you enjoyed the bonus boner.
Yeah, I sure did. Thank you.